Well, hello everybody and welcome. Thanks for watching. Today's topic, my latest haul from Poobah Records. Not a lot, but some good quality. And unfortunately, one disappointment. Let's get right into it, shall we? Let's start out with the album that disappointed me. Doobie Brothers. Why would I be disappointed in probably the biggest commercial selling album that these guys ever put out? Well, because if you know me, you know I am a Doobie Brothers fan, but I'm a huge fan of pre-Michael McDonald Doobies. Michael McDonald came in and kind of remade the Doobie Brothers from an album-oriented rock band into a mainstream pop record, super popular across the country on every radio station group. They were probably very happy with their ascendance to rock stardom or pop stardom, but I'm not happy as a rock and roll listener. They took my great rock and roll musicianship band and turned it into, the beginnings of yacht rock. Now, truth be told, I used to have this cassette. I fell for it myself back when this album came out, and I bought it myself, and I used to play it in my car myself. So I was happy with it back then. But after discovering the early discography, the first albums of the Doobie Brothers, I found out, that I just much prefer them as a rock and roll jam band and not whatever they became with Michael McDonald. And so I played this, and it was radio friendly hit after yacht rock hit, and it bored me, frankly. I didn't like it whatsoever. So not going to say anything else negative about this other than, meh, I don't know what to do with this album now. Next up, a great surprise. Probably the biggest surprise of my record haul. Dire Straits, Love Over Gold. Early Dire Straits album. Songs written by, performed by, of course, Mark Knopfler and the rest of the boys, and produced by Mark Knopfler himself. What a great job he did with this album. Now, some people are going to tell you that there's only 5 songs on this album, and some people are going to tell you 5 songs does not an album make. This is an EP. Well, I'll tell you what. Whatever you want to call it, I call it great. And I'm calling it probably my favorite Dire Straits album. It doesn't have the radio-friendly hits, Romeo and Juliet, Sultans of Swing, and so on, all of those that we know. But this is just a beautiful musical statement. And the production that Mark Knopfler did here, the presence of the instruments, the cleanness of the sound, the expansiveness, and at the same time the intimacy of the soundstage that he put together on this album. 14-minute musical journeys through the universe. 9-minute, 8-minute songs that are just absolutely beautiful. You didn't hear them on the radio, but if you're any kind of a Dire Straits fan like I am, pick up this album and listen to it on your stereo. Pop an edible like I do. Turn the lights down low, get yourself in your favorite music listening chair, and just drop the needle on this baby. And as I said, just go on a musical journey to another solar system. This is beautiful, beautiful stuff right here. Can't say enough about the musicianship, the songwriting, the the way that he takes us on a musical journey through these songs that don't become self-indulgent despite the length. Every note has to be there. It's got its place. And when the song ends, when the album ends, you just want to drop the needle back on side one, song one, once again. That's how good this album is. Favorite Dire Straits album? I think so, for me. Next up, what have we got? Van Morrison, early Van Morrison, his band and the Street Choir. I didn't even know this album really was anything. I've got maybe a half a dozen. This is maybe number 6 of albums of Van Morrison. I'm definitely trying to collect as much of his music as I can, and I knew that this one was essential listening out of his early discography. This one drops after Moondance and before Astral Weeks. I may have it reversed, the order, but either way, this is the middle album between them. So it's got flavors of both within. Very, very enjoyable. You gotta have this if you're going to collect Van Morrison's early work. This is good stuff here. Big radio hit off of this was Domino, and also was Blue Money. Starts off side 2. So side 1, song 1 is Domino, the big hit off of this one. Side 2, song 1, Blue Money, which also got pretty big. Otherwise, everything else on here is absolutely worth listening to anyway. Not a bad song in the bunch. Very good album. Oops. Next up, I got 2 more albums to talk to you about very quickly. Let's do this one last. Next up, Aerosmith. You've probably heard the sad news that Aerosmith shut down its farewell album, its farewell tour, its final tour, and then they were going to call it quits from the stage, but they didn't even finish out this tour. Steven Tyler had some throat problems that were not healing, and they just decided to just shut down everything and call it a career. And so sad for Aerosmith fans. Good for me to have come across this album and pick it up. What is this called? Get Your Wings. Big cuts off of here are Train Kept A-Rolling, which is probably my favorite all-time Aerosmith song. And the other big one is Same Old Song and Dance. But otherwise, as I said, like with the Van Morrison album, 2 big radio hits off the album, but everything else in here, you don't get cheated on. Aerosmith always brings good stuff on the vinyl, and so very happy to have grabbed this album. Final grab was a surprise. I've never even heard of this album. I didn't even know this existed, and I'm very glad that I grabbed it. The first great rock festivals of the 70s. Double album, 2 albums bringing us live cuts from the Isle of Wight Music Festival and from the Atlanta Pop Festival. Woodstock, I think, was 1968. Woodstock kind of started that whole trend of very large rock festivals. Then we had Altamont. 1970 comes along, and we get, everybody still thinks large rock festivals are the way to go. And so we get Isle of Wight, and then we get the Atlanta Festival. Look at this list of names that are on these double albums. Live cuts recorded live. Jimi Hendrix, Johnny Winter, Sly and the Family Stone, 10 Years After, Miles Davis, Allman Brothers, Procol Harum, the Chambers Brothers. I mean, these are heavyweights, and they don't disappoint. These guys can be found live on other albums and can be found live on their own dedicated live albums dedicated just to them. But can you have too much Allman Brothers live? Can you have too much Johnny Winter live? I say no. And it's proven here. This is very good stuff. And I'm very happy to have discovered, I think I paid like, $3.99 for this. Double album, as I said. The album cover itself is pretty chewy and, pretty bad. But the vinyl itself, quick cleanup, and it's very clear, really good. And so somebody took care of the vinyl. They beat up the covers and they left them lying around. But otherwise, the vinyl itself rewarded a $3.99 take a chance buy to get some great classic early 70s rock and roll giants recorded live in their primes. So there you go. This was a great discovery. Very happy to have found it. Do yourself a favor and pick up some vintage vinyl. Clean it up a little bit. You'd be surprised. The production values back then weren't always the best, but sometimes, boy, those record producers back then were giving us really beautiful sound stages that you just don't get in today's recordings. And so I'm very happy with that haul, and I'm very happy that you came to watch my video today. Thanks for sharing this with me. I'll be back next time with more happy vinyl finds. Let's hope next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace.